And thanks for joining us once again on PM Express. There are a few interesting stories that we know have emerged from the NPP Parliamentary primary over the weekend. We're going to sift through that and help you, in essence, make sense of what has happened. You've heard a lot about the numbers. Let's now make sense of that. But where we stand tonight, we know there's still one constituency which is still generating a fair bit of tension. I'm talking about Yendi, because there the EC says there is still no winner. But we know one of the contenders, who is incumbent member of parliament for the area, Farouk Aliyu Mahama, says he won that particular race. As we know, the third national vice chairman in that particular constituency, in fact, he was sent there to supervise the entire regional context and elections there. He went ahead and declared Farouk Mahama the winner. Tonight, he's confirmed that he did so on the authority of the General Secretary of the party. The party, meanwhile, says, well, they're waiting for a briefing from the regional executives of the party, but also the constitutional executives on what happened before they resolve this. So this has become a pretty thorny issue going into today. It's been 48 hours plus since the polls ended, and there's no closure on that. But there are some major talking points. One of them is the sheer number of incumbents that lost their seats in the primary, 28 of them. And already a lot is being said about this, because if you put the 28 together with the 18 incumbents who voluntarily said they were not going to contest this particular primary, that is a significant number of individuals and stalwarts in the party whose experience will no longer be there in Parliament in 2025. But also, the NPP will lose that experience. What is its impact on the party in Parliament, but also government business between now and December, by the time that the current president leaves office? Over the weekend, if you join our coverage here on the election headquarters, which is always brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament says, well, he does not anticipate that it will have any significant impact. But the sheer number of experienced hands making way in Parliament, Joshua Usu himself, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu. Now you look at the casualty list already that we're seeing. You have Bribe Rekrubebe, Deputy Minister for Employment. You have Joseph Kujo. He's also gone. You have Frida Pempe, also gone. You have the Sanitation Minister, also gone. Definitely that experience that the party needs in the House, they are not going to be available. There's always an impact somewhere. The fresh faces coming in will have to learn, and have to learn very quickly. So that's the first talking point that has emerged from this. And it is one that we are watching closely. Of course, talking about incumbents who lost, this is possibly one of the most high-profile incumbents going in. Very interesting indeed. We're watching this very closely. I'm talking about Sarah Josafo, because of all the controversy that led into this particular primary. And that gap was significant between herself and Aaron Michael Quay. It wasn't even funny. Because if you go back to the trends, in the last two times that he contested, Michael Quay polled 124 as against Sarah Josafo's 186 in 2011. You come back to 2020, the closest yet of a difference of 8 points, but then you see that gap here that he polled. Significant one indeed for him. And the big picture there, though, the biggest constituency still in this country when it comes to votes on election day is, if you go to the constituency, we spent quite some time there last week trying to monitor what was happening on the ground. The constituent said if the party still brought forth Josafo and retained her, they should forget the national election. So there was really a big picture question. This was the big picture contest. And if you listen to the constituency secretary, he emphasized this point. And so they have their man, the man that they believe will appeal to the electorate in the Dom Kwabenya constituency to get them the victory for 2024 in a constituency that the NPP is absolutely strong in. If you got this wrong, that could pose a significant threat to you. And so they believe they fixed this. We'll see what the delegates will say when it comes down to crunch. Well, the delegates have spoken already. I'm talking about when the general population go to vote on December 7th. That's a story there in Dom Kwabenya. Of course, I mean, this is Katie Hammond's area. Also very interesting. If you look at the conversations going in, he threatened to beat him at the polls, but also beat him physically. Well, he said this in front of police officers, that physical beating hasn't happened yet, but the electoral defeat has happened. The electoral beating has happened. And he delivered a resounding one there in Adansia Sokwa, considering all the tension that went into this. And this is the same gentleman he came up against in the last primary. And if you look at it, the last time, it was close. It was 58 votes. Now you're talking in excess of almost 200 votes difference there in Adansia Sokwa. So that tells you a story of Katie Hammond's popularity in that particular constituency. And he is absolutely excited by this. I want to quickly go back just a second to that particular area again before we begin to see the picture emerge in other areas. Okay, so that's a case of Katie Hammond's own constituency. And it also shows that incumbents, regardless of how many times they've gone, if they're really strong on the ground, they still can win, because as you heard Joe Sowusu say on the election quarters over the weekend, sometimes if you're attempting to go a third time, you are risking being humiliated. He decided not to go. If he stood again in Bekwai, he would have won. But it was time for him. Katie Hammond, many thought it was his time and he was possibly going to suffer a humiliating defeat. He didn't. Well, he was expected to join us. He isn't just yet. But here is another interesting big story point that we're reading a bit more into this. Why? Because of the Ken Ofori-Atta factor. Because Eugene Boakye-Antwi was the most vocal, one of the most vocal rebels who emerged in Parliament asking the president to sack Ken Ofori-Atta. And when he came under some scrutiny, he went public to say nobody can cause his defeat in this constituency. Nobody can remove him as a member of Parliament because his people believe in him and they put him there. Well, as it turned out, he lost his seat and lost it by a significant vote margin, as you see their play. And we believe definitely those elements in the party who felt that he has bitten more than he could chew by taking on the finance minister the way he did, decided to make sure they teach him a lesson. And also, he's not really pitched his camp that firmly with the new power station in the party, and I'm talking about around the vice president too. So he's really left exposed there. And why wouldn't he say the things he said going into the elections that nobody can touch him in the constituency? Because if you look at his historical performance in the delegates elections in the parliamentary primary, has been pretty handsome. 485 against 166, that's a huge margin of 74.5%. He was coming into this believing that these same delegates who voted for him in 2020 again will come and help him out. But, well, you cannot touch the Ken Ofori-Atta and say all the things that you've said, and again not picture come that firmly in the new power center in the party, that is the current vice president, who's the flag bearer, and expect to still win. And so that was expected, and so he lost. And then we come to the other big story, the sitting ministers who lost, right? And remember that the parliamentary primary is a game of who has the most resources. It is winner always coming to the party with the most resources. And many people thought that incumbent ministers will definitely have more resources in the constituency than those they are competing against. That is a challenge with our democracy currently, that elected positions is essentially to the highest bidder. It's being sold to the highest bidder. And we're going to be talking about that tonight with some of the candidates themselves who won, joining us for a conversation, a very honest conversation. But they went into this and lost, right? But who did they lose against? And that's a very important question to also examine. Because the gender minister, for example, lost against the spokesperson for the vice president, who's also an economic advisor to the vice president, right? That's a new power center in the party. Power has shifted, has it not? Has shifted from the power center we've known in the NPP as around the current president, Nana Akufo-Addo, to the vice president. And so, yes, that's what happened. I'm talking about Luriba Abudu. I'm talking about the technical advisor, rather, who knocked her off there. And then you come to Frida Pempe. That's rather where Gideon Wako is, where he is the spokesperson and economic advisor. So these two tell also the very important story, which has been emphasizing, that power has shifted within the party. influences move, loyalties have begun to change, and everybody is now beginning to move around the vice president, the current flag bearer of the party. And these two were recently appointed, just a year ago. She was appointed in July last year by the president, perceived to be the president's favorite. The president put them there, and yet they came up against the vice president's favorites too, because they worked for him, and they lost against them. They lost against those two. So that tells you a story, also representing what may be happening in the party in terms of the changing power dynamics there. But also, the thing about resources is, if they're also coming from the vice president's stock, you can expect that they will have people who believe in their cause, possibly because of the vice president's association, and they will put money into their campaign. So that was a pretty keen contest, and the victories were seen there. In both cases, this was a bit close, but this was significant margins there. And then you have Minister for Public Enterprises, who also lost in this constituency, right? And that we see is one of those areas that has raised a few eyebrows. Or many didn't see that he will lose, but he lost to somebody who is well known as a lawyer, but also sits on the GRA board. Then you come to the deputy ministers who also lost their seats, just a whole host of them. You have the deputy education minister losing, Chuma Mpofu going, deputy fisheries minister, deputy local government minister, all of them falling. And a lot has been said about Tina Mensah, has it not? Because she also lost to Jerry Ahmed, who is the CEO of the Coastal Development Authority. And then you begin also to see a certain interesting dynamic emerging, that people who came to contest these formidable candidates who are incumbents, some of them also came in leveraging the appointment to boards, to state enterprises, etc. And they came with resources, right? And they knocked them off, as you've seen. So interesting stories beginning to emerge as we see. But I cannot end without talking about the gender factor. As you see, as we looked back to this whole story, performance of the 15 incumbent MPs who contested, a total of 46% of them lost. That's 7 of them, 9 of them winning. So, well, that's not too bad a story, but you were expecting that even more of these women will hold on to their position. Some of them, very interesting names. Sheila Bartels is one of them. Many thought deserved to hold on to her seat, but in politics, there's nothing like deserve. Everything's about what you're able to do with the delegates and your ground game. Your resources is the paramount subject now for the NPP, and in most parties now in Ghana. It's all about who has the most resource, and she lost there in that particular contest. The rest you know already. The Tano North case, the Jabin case, all falling and not able to go to Parliament in 2025. My guests are joining me for a conversation. When we return from this break, we'll get it going to the specifics. And always remember that PM Express is brought to you by Pepsodent. Every smile matters. Also brought to you by Syntex Tanks, Alomo Bitters, and the Ghana AIDS Commission. Back after this with my guest for a good conversation. And PMSS is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Alomo Bitters, experience greatness in every moment. Ghana AIDS Commission, and also by Pepsodent. Every smile matters, and no matter your water needs, Syntex Tank has it all. Syntex Tanks is first to introduce a double-layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tanks is first to introduce the white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and we now introduce you to the customer specs order. We'll let you order any color and size of preference. Syntex Tank gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you in Ghana. So whatever your water consumption, size of project or demand, choose Syntex Tanks. We have agents nationwide. Call them on 0244 335 168 or shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tanks, a strong, a tough. And I need to recommend the cavity fighter. And it only comes from Pepsodent, because every time we eat, remember, the food and sugars are trapped between our teeth, leading to decay, gum disease, and in some cases, foul breath. Now, brushing your teeth every morning and night with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter gives your teeth the protection they need, leaving you with 10 times stronger teeth. Now, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter is fortified with fluoride and micro calcium ingredients, sealing tiny and invisible holes in your teeth. Now, this prevents cavities, keeps your teeth strong and mouth healthy. Pepsodent Cavity comes in a 175-gram big family pack and 120-gram Ejapwa pack, 65G and 12G sachet as well. So you can always get what you can afford at any time. Don't just use toothpaste that brushes your teeth. Use Pepsodent that protects your teeth. Always remember to brush your teeth in the morning and before you sleep at night. Pepsodent has been educating Ghanaians on how to brush your teeth for 25 years, and it is recommended by the Ghana Dental Association. Pepsodent indeed is what you need to get. You want to also talk to a dentist for free. Call toll free at 0800-16100 to talk to a dentist for free. Pepsodent, you can get it at any shop. You can also call them toll free at 0800-200-030. Pepsodent, every smile matters. I want to bring in my guest into the conversation now, and you know him. Dr. Makoba joins us right now via Zoom. He is the former head of the Political Science Department at the KNUST, and he is the stalwart of the party too. He attempted to lead the party as the national chairman, and so he has great knowledge of the NPP. So I'm grateful that you could join us. We'll also be joined by some of the aspirants who won, and also some who are currently contesting their outcomes. Farouk Mahama says he won in Yendi. Hopefully he can join us for a conversation where we are tonight on that subject. But, Amakuba, give me your overall reaction to the outcomes that we saw on Saturday.
Well, your statistics was interesting, but I beg to differ. It's all skewed. It's not a reflection of the general election or how it's going to be, because this one was corralled. The people involved were corralled to one side. The general election is not going to be like that. So you can't use this election as a gauge for this to happen. I'm afraid that's what I see.
Okay, so it's not a barometer. I want to isolate a few interesting points. I want to come to the Ashanti region, stronghold of the NPP, and they desperately need Ashanti region this year more than any other election year because of 8-year curse, attempting to break the 8. But also, if you look at the incumbents who lost, the overwhelming majority comes from the Ashanti region. In fact, 8 of them come from the Ashanti region. I mean, of course, it's a huge region. Almost all, barring almost like 3 or 4 of the constituencies is in the camp or is held by NPP MP. So you can expect some significant casualties there. But for the fact that 8 of them come from there, how much are you reading into this going into the 2024 elections on December 7th?
Well, I suspect we may see an increase of independent candidates. That's one thing. Because if you lost and you don't think you were treated fair by your own party, and then you may be tempted to go it alone, independent. So that remains to be seen, how many will take that up. Because it's your party too. So why the support go to one side and not your side, if you feel that's what happened? And so we have to wait and see what they are going to do. And that's what I see. And either way, it's not good for the party. The division continues. That's what it implies. If you think your party did not treat you right, are you going to support your party? That's the question. So the things that have gone on ahead of time, I can say pretty much has decimated the party, and it continues in the election. The results are indication of that, this unity decimation. So now, if you're an MPP, and you run against a candidate who has the support of the vice president, and you've lost. Are you going to support the vice president in the general election? That's the question. Is he going to be able to turn them around to his side again? Well, that remains to be seen. In Ghana, money can do everything. So let's see.
And we'll talk about that money factor later on, because it's again played out as we've seen in this particular primary. But still in the Ashanti region, though, there's a story also in Bantama that we've been paying attention to. The Kennedy Japan factor. He had gone there campaigned very heavily for his brother, caused a bit of chaos within the party with threats to spill the beans if the brother if the brother loses. The brother lost, obviously, and lost significantly. And many thought, coming on the heels of the presidential primary and his performance there, his popularity among delegates, he was going to deliver all that support to the brother. That didn't happen. Should we read into that and come to a conclusion that Kennedy is not as popular in the party as he thinks it is, and that the power brokers really taught him a lesson there, and possibly the beginning of that waning of that Kennedy phenomenon?
Well, once again, we have that distortion of money, because these are delegates. They are not ordinary people who go to vote. They are paid to vote, so to speak, because money changes hands. And if you pay him back, you vote that way. And so that is what has happened. Besides, the president himself threatened to sponsor somebody else against the incumbent candidates who did not support the finance minister. Maybe that has come about. Now, if that is the case, we're going to have the same support from these people who have lost. As you go along the list, problems. Is the vice president going to be able to fix this thing before the general election? I don't know. He doesn't have a lot of time. Right? So it doesn't look good anyway you look at it. It doesn't look good. As we go along, the things that happened before, they have come back again. This is why we're holding parliamentary elections at this time. Before the primary for what? We've done the primary first. It's supposed to be the opposite, reverse, right? But they did it this way. That means every parliamentary candidate, so to speak, to shut up. Don't criticize certain people. Don't say certain things if you don't want to lose your seat. That is not how a political party is run. Are you going to be in charge forever? No. And what happens when you go off the seat? That's the question. I don't know the answers to these things, you know. But they seem to, not long-term planning, just what to do to win this time. That's it. But as you go along, even if you do win by your designs, you are destroying the party.
Didn't think so?
Many party members are saying they were not treated fairly.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the complaints of unfair treatment, though, it hasn't really been a major theme after the polls. I mean, if it's playing out, sure, people are this not happy, but it hasn't played out to the surface just yet. Does that mean that the party has been at least very good at managing this at that level?
Well, it remains to be seen because it's quite fresh. So let's give it about a week or so and let people reflect. And then they start talking again, and we'll see what they're saying now. Right? It's too early for them to be able to assess things properly. But whatever way you look at it, this is not how it's supposed to be. It's not the executive or the party that is supposed to foist candidates on the party.
But that didn't happen this time, did it? I mean, delegates went to vote and they voted for their own choice.
Well, no, that's not it. You voted for the highest bidder. The side that has, you said they have resources, you mean they have money? Where did they get the money from? Look, the vice president alone, when he went through the primary, he spent about 80 million. Where did he get the money from? 80 million cities. What is his pay? That is what Ghanaians are supposed to be asked. That's the pertinent question. How much does he get paid a month for him to be able to afford this bill? Where did he get that money from? But we behave as if we don't see it. Oh, he's a vice president, he has money. What? If you have vice president, you get money automatically, even if somebody gave it to you.
I mean, the vice president didn't contest in the parliamentary primary. Let's focus on the candidates who did. You're saying, of course, we know money played the role there. In Ashanti region, though, if you live there, you know what the situation is with what people believe of the party. The outcome that we've seen with some of the new faces coming in, does that put the NPP in a position to maximize votes there? They need far more than 75% to win the national elections. Historically, they've always done so if they cross that mark. Do you believe the outcome places them in a very strong position to get all the votes they can in the Ashanti region, a stronghold to win the elections as they've always done when they hit the mark?
It's hard for me to say because the whole thing is skewed. You are paying people to vote, you understand? You push them on to one side, vote for this one or else. Can you use that result for any projection? Especially when the next projection does not include the indicators you used. That's the problem. The indicators have changed. The money situation will go down a bit. So how do you use the same indicators to project the general election? You can't. That's the problem. You can't use that. And so that becomes a brand new thing. You have won, yes, your candidates have won. And what's going to happen now? You have the boogeyman at the back too, the one who feels not properly treated, the one who is angry because he doesn't belong to the right side. They're all going to get angry, and it's your own party people. And it's not good. This is why political parties must be run along democratic lines, the Constitution says. So when you lose, you have genuinely lost, and you are not angry, it is easy for you to come back and support the person who won. Is that going to happen this time? The party is already divided, and now it can worse. But let's wait and see what happens. You know, as I said, Ghana, money can fix anything.
Henry Nanabuachi is the national organizer of the party. He joins us now. I'm sure as we pick the bones from this contest, the party is also doing the same. I want to bring him into the conversation. And he is the national organizer. He himself hails from the Ashanti region. And he's paid his dues there before he got the national organizer position. Thank you very much, Henry Nanabuachi. So I'm curious, though. The party obviously is looking at the outcome. We've seen 28 incumbents lose their primary over the weekend, lose their contest in their constituencies. If you add to that the 18 incumbents who retired, who say they voluntarily didn't want to contest, that puts you at a very significant number. Is the party concerned about the impact of this in depriving you of the experienced hands you need to first prosecute your agenda, post the elections, but also between now and December 7, getting government business in the House done in a way where you have your people committed to the cause? Is that a concern for the party?
Thank you very much, Evans. I think that, first of all, as the national organizer, I've served this party for some years now, and in fact, I've been actively involved in the party structure for the past 20 years. For me, this is the best, well-organized, free, fair, transparent, credible, internal parliamentary primaries we've had. I mean, if you put together the orphan constituencies, we conducted primaries in the orphan constituencies about a month ago. And then we have the primaries for the constituencies with certain MPs. For me, it is the best, it's the most credible, free, fair elections we've had. It is a mixture of, yes, you have some experienced hands voluntarily exiting. Some MPs announced that they will not contest again. I mean, that is also part of democracy. And then we also have some who also contested and then they lost. For me, it is a mixture of, and some also won. Don't forget that we have some experienced hands who also won their elections. So it's a mixture of both experience, MPs already there. Some have gone 3 times, 4 times. They still won their elections. Some exited on their own will. So it is a mixture of the new, the young face, the vibrant, new energy coming in. And if you also check the background of some of these young folks or some of these persons who have won, you have medical doctors, you have legal practitioners, you have businessmen, you have youth activists. So for me, I don't think that it's going to be fatal for parliamentary work. I don't think so. I rather think that these young persons who are coming in will quickly learn on the job, and they will also come on board. So it's been a very good exercise for the party. And I think that once it was free, fair, credible, and transparent, everybody will come on board. And the party, yes, I also admit, you mentioned that maybe it may affect government business. And that is why I think that we have leadership in Parliament. Some people also came to Parliament after, taking off the position from others. So I don't think that it is going to affect Parliament. I mean, they would understand. I mean, you have to understand. I mean, there is a party, and you even have to help your party. The party gave you the opportunity to serve, and then it is time for somebody to also come in to serve. I think that you need to take it in good faith and then work with it.
Yeah, I mean, but for that to happen, the party must be very deliberate about getting them to appreciate the need to still cooperate with the government, and do work in the House in a way that doesn't cause you more pain as you approach December 7. I'm curious whether there's a very deliberate strategy.
Yes, there is. There is. I mean, in the coming days, there will be a meeting, and in attendance, we will have our respected MPs who did not contest again. We also have our respected MPs who contested and lost. And then we also have currently those who are serving. We will have a meeting with them, the leader of the party, His Excellency, the Vice President, the National Chairman, and the President will be meeting all of these persons. And there will be, as you put it, there will be that deliberate attempt to make sure that the work to keep Parliament intact.
Okay. And how soon do you hope to do this?
In the coming days. I mean,
okay.
It will be somewhere this week or the following week. It's not going to take long at all.
And I want to isolate the Ashanti region for a second. If you look at the number of people who lost, for obvious reasons, the numbers was going to be greater in the Ashanti region because you have the overwhelming majority of those seats there, you hold on to it. But at last count, 8 of the incumbents who lost come from there. And that is an area you need to galvanize your base to win. Confident that the new faces coming in the Ashanti region have what it takes to galvanize your base, get them excited enough to show out in their numbers, to give you the percentage you require, the votes you require to cross the line?
Yeah, Ivan, the research document we have internally indicate that from 2012, 2016, and 2020, any time we have had a change in terms of the parliamentary candidates, we have actually appreciated in votes. Yes, they come in with new vision, the zeal, and they are seen to be maybe fresh face. So we are going to give him the chance. Let's support him. So any time we have changed candidates in any constituency, especially in our strongholds, we have actually appreciated the votes. So in as much as we'll be losing out on some of these experienced hands in Parliament, I think that there is also some political fortune in there. The young folks who are coming in would have to work very, very hard. They want to make a mark. And it appears that there's no political fatigue in them. They are rather coming to exhibit some form of new energy. So it helps the party, I mean, both the presidential and the parliamentary. So, yes, in as much as you can say that some of the negatives out there will be the losing some experienced hands, but also the new faces, the young folks coming in also would work very hard. They're coming in with new energy, and we'll see some appreciation of our vote as well.
Okay. But please stay with me. Let me bring in a man who plies his trade in the Ashanti region, our capital, Kumasi. He is Dr. Kwesi Amachi Boateng, the senior lecturer at the KNUSC, political analyst too. Doc, what do you make of the strategy of the party? First of all, if you listen to Nana Boakye, they're going to be meeting with everybody else in Parliament, those who lost, those who voluntarily said they were not going to be contesting, try and close ranks, get them to be active in government business between now and December, with a view to getting them to support nonetheless. Good strategy?
Come again, my network went off, so I didn't get part of the question.
Well, the party just announced from the national organizer that they are acutely aware of the challenges they may face in Parliament because of the sheer number of incumbents who lost, and they have a strategy to engage them in addition to all the heavyweights who, prior to the primary, announced that they were not going to be contesting, just to get them to be very active in government business, so prosecute government business between now and December, because they need that to still convince the general population that they are a worthy party to still continue to retain the power. Good strategy?
Thank you very much. Let me say good evening to your viewers. I don't think they have a choice. I mean, the party is trying to simply react in a way that they find themselves in. And so to try to make the best out of the current challenging situation is rest assuring that, I mean, our brother Nana Boachi acknowledges that, yes, these are, the possibility of simply bringing the party into, or putting the party in some difficult situation, but then they have a strategy to overcome it. Is it a good strategy? It depends as to whether it will work. But I think the challenge that they have now has its own dynamics, and it goes beyond, you know, our behavior here in Ghana. I think if we are able to really, you know, bring in additional resources and manage it well, are we going to change our politics during this short period? Are we going to change the way we go about managing government business? Have we come to terms with the fact that we need to cut the size of government and save money in governance? I think we want to find answers to some of these things. Strategies might not necessarily, deliver if the resources are not available. Two, if we don't change our ways of doing politics, if we don't change our governance methods.
Yeah, but as we see now, this is purely about a political party trying to close ranks after a bitter contest. I mean, what else can you do than get people who've lost to understand the big picture?
They'll do the best they can. But the crucial thing is that to be able to affect, you know, the electorates, majority of Ghanaians, significantly, in order to, if you like, benefit somehow from the upcoming elections, then you need to address the core challenge in society. Over here, you know, the strategy might, you know, be good. It might be good, but then if you don't have the resource to really get the strategies to really translate into public goods, desired public goods that should be in place, then the strategy will not necessarily conjure magic.
And Henry, so as we speak tonight, you have some areas across the country. In fact, one particular area has been dominating the headlines, and I'm interested in finding out from you what the latest is on this Yendi matter, because that also needs to be closed as soon as possible. When we spoke to you in the morning, you said you're waiting for a report from the regional executives to decide what to do. And if you don't know what the context to this is, that primary, the EC in a statement this evening says there is no winner because the process of collating, sorting and declaring the results, the ballots, was disrupted. There was violence, and more than 400 ballot papers were destroyed. And so it isn't something they can go ahead with. The incumbent member of parliament for the area, I'm talking about Yendi Farouk Mahama, says to me tonight that for him, he is a winner. He's declared himself the winner of the particular race. Now, how is the party resolving this? Have you received the report you were looking forward to?
Yes, we have. And a meeting will be called sometime tomorrow or on Wednesday. Today, all of us found ourselves at Menchia, where we escorted our regional chairman. And before then, too, we had already farmed ourselves out into the various regions. Myself, I was part of the supervisory team in Ashanti region. The General Secretary himself was also in Ashanti region. Other national executives were also in other regions as well. So all of us, hopefully by tomorrow, should be in Accra. So there will be a meeting and the decision will be communicated. Yes, we've read the statement, and I've also read it as well, that the EC statement that came out tonight. Our national rep is yet to get to Accra. Our regional reps, they sent in the reports. So we'll consider all that, and a decision will be made, and we will communicate the decision to the public.
I mean, there was a development tonight on my radio program when we spoke to the third national vice chairman of the party, who the party had appointed to supervise the process in the northern region. And he says, because he had gone ahead to declare winner and declare Farouk Mohammed the winner, he says before he did the declaration, he consulted with the party's general secretary, who gave him the authority to go ahead and make the declaration. Can you confirm that?
I cannot confirm.
Okay.
What I can confirm is that I spoke to the general secretary, and then he said that we're going to have a meeting, and they are going to discuss this particular matter, and the outcome will be made public.
Does your party's constitution have a procedure for dealing with an outcome such as this, where yes votes have been cast, but because of disturbance, you're unable to declare? Is there a process, is there precedent?
The body in the constitution seized with the authority on matters of constituency parliamentary primaries is the National Executive Committee. If the National Steering Committee acts on behalf of the National Executive Committee, we run the party on day-to-day basis. That is the steering committee. So if there is a need for us to refer the matter to the National Executive Committee, we are going to do so. But as I speak, steering committee will meet, a decision will be made. If we have to refer the matter to NEC for NEC to make a decision, we are going to do so. And we are going to consider every angle in this particular. We are going to consider the EC's angle, we are going to consider the aspirant angle, we are going to consider the regional report, we are going to consider the constituency report, and then the national report as well. So immediately we put all together, we'll make a decision, and the decision will be made today. Will be made public.
Okay. Harry, thank you very much. And that's the Harry Nabwachi, he's a national organizer of the NPP, giving us an update on the Yendi situation, which has left that particular part of the northern region still pretty tense among supporters of the party there. I want to take a quick break. When I return, I'll wrap up with my analysts who join me, political science lecturers, both from the Ashanti region, helping me appreciate the impact of this on the party for the 2024 elections. When we come back, we'll focus a bit more on that and the shifting power center in the party and its impact also. Because as we know, two of the individuals who won against incumbents were from the vice president's office. How much are we reading into that as we go into the 2024 elections? It's live on PM Express. My guest still with me, Dr. Kwesi Amakye-Boateng. He is a senior lecturer here in USC political analyst. Also with me is Dr. Marco Ba. He is a former head of the KNUSC Political Science Department. Also, just gone by, we spoke to the national organizer of the party, Harry Nabwachi, on the Yendi situation. They have now received the report. A meeting has been called tomorrow, and an announcement will be made. As we speak tonight, the Electoral Commission says there is no winner in that contest that happened on Saturday. Very quickly, let me start with you very quickly because I just have a couple of minutes to wrap up. Dr. Makoba, so give me your verdict. Give me your verdict on what this outcome means for the shift in power within the NPP. As we know, we have a new kid on the block. He is the vice president. He's the leader of the party. Although we have a president who is obviously a lame duck now, we've seen an outcome where in two of the contests, both in Tano North and in the case of Wale Wale, where the vice president hails from, his people who work directly with him, beat ministers appointed by the president recently. That says something, does it not?
Well, it does, but it's not a good thing for that to happen within the same party. You don't hit one and raise one. You're all in the same party. You have to come up with mechanisms that bring unity. If you see, if the party is operating like a real party should operate, there should be dialogue. Sometimes you get two candidates in the same constituency. The good thing is not, the best thing is not to let them go at each other. Because if you're not careful, by the time it's over, both of them will be down. And so you talk to them. And sometimes they come to consensus. Okay, I'll let you go now. He says, I'm only going for 2 terms or 1 term and I'll quit. Then next time you come. Something like that. This is how the party machinery makes things work smoothly. We don't have that. You see, and what happened, we are talking as if what has happened in the past does not matter. Or nothing happened in the past. As business as usual. It isn't. The division is getting worse. That's what is happening. Now it's vice president people versus president people in the same party. And the MPs who spoke against the president find themselves losing. Is that a good thing? No.
Well, but you know what they say.
Smooth it over.
You know what they say? That's just what politics is. It's just it's just the way maneuverings happens all over the world. But thank you very much, Dr. Makuba, for joining me. Also to you, Kwesi Amachi. Tomorrow we'll get the very latest on this Yendi situation, which has led the Yendi Township, at least among the NPP supporters, they're pretty tense on the back of the AC's decision tonight to say there is no winner. Although one of the candidates incumbent says he won, that will be resolved tomorrow. We'll hear it on the election headquarters. Enjoy the rest of the evening.